First blood went to Alcantech 1 week ago as the Apex Racing Academy Formula 3 Virtual Racing School Super Series returned, and a long-awaited first race victory for Jesper Sandström as he managed to take the race win at Road America. We wait to see whether Sim Race Sweden or perhaps one of the privateers can take the challenge to the Swedish team this week. I'm Sam Fitzpatrick, you are watching along on Apex Racing TV, and I have alongside me Apex Racing team member Jamie Fluke. Jamie, it's always a pleasure to have you alongside us, but what a week for you to jump in, because it is your favourite iRacing circuit this week. It is VIR. What are the chances?
I know, it's a wonderful coincidence that I'm able to jump in this week. VIR, as far as I'm concerned, is the best track on the service by quite some margin. Every corner is so much fun to drive, and this evening with the F3 cars promises to be great racing as well.
Absolutely. It's a shame that we don't see many big events, like PESC has never visited here. Haven't had the Grand Prix Championship visit since 2015, unfortunately. But yeah, what makes it so good? And is it just as good to race as to drive, or is it a much better driver's circuit, do you think?
I'd say it's more of a driver's circuit. The thing that I do still enjoy about racing around VIR is the fact that there's a good balance between being the car behind versus the car ahead. There's opportunity to overtake, particularly into turn one, and then also out of the oak tree coming towards the roller coaster. But if you're good enough and wily enough with your defensive maneuvers, then you can hang on to your position as well. So I think it's a really good balance of just everything a track can offer. The elevation changes across the lap are so much fun, particularly through South Bend, which is turn 10. Yeah, I just love the track from start to finish.
Is the rescan better, do you think, or is it not the same?
It's taken away the oak tree itself,
yeah,
which obviously is a huge point of the track, like a defining characteristic of it. But the new scan, it's changed the curbs, which I like the old curbs where you can kind of clatter over them, but obviously not hurt the car. You can always attack them in every car. And yeah, the new ones are a little bit flatter, but it's still, VIR, it's still a track that I love dearly.
And turn 10, you were mentioning to me earlier on, absolutely fantastic corner. I mean, of course, you go through the S's beforehand, you're generating in these F3 cars a lot of speed, probably going at about over 150 miles an hour into that corner, and then you drop downhill. I think maybe the most common mistake perhaps we see on the entire circuit, and it's a characteristic for this entire track, honestly, is dipping a wheel onto the grass. You have got those curbs, sort of, but still dipping a wheel onto the grass, especially when the car's highly loaded in these F3s, and that could be game over. Yeah,
absolutely. Now, thankfully, you're probably not going to hit anything. There's vast open space pretty much on the exit of every corner, but if you go off around here, there's very little chance of sort of correcting it and saving it. If you make a mistake, you get punished for it, which increasingly within motorsport isn't such a common thing. So I'm glad that we still have it here in VIR. And yeah, plenty of opportunity for mistakes to happen as well. It's not going to be a guarantee for whoever's out front that they're just going to stay there. We've seen in so many series over the years that someone being out front can very easily make that small mistake that fires them off the road and loses a ton of time.
Exactly. And of course, this is the second round of the championship, and first round, Road America 1 week ago, and then of course we go to Mosport in a couple of weeks' time, Hungaroring in about a month's time, and then of course Aragon and Nürburgring, Belle, Monza and Jerez to round out. But it was quite an action-packed opening round of the championship, and it started off fantastically for our defending champions, Sim Race Sweden. For it all went rather south for them. Isaac Arvidsson managing to take his 11th consecutive race victory in the series, initially in his heat, but then it was all negative for Sim Race Sweden after that, and they had several incidents, kind of strangely, Jamie, at the same corner, Canada corner at Road America, and it was just the entry to that almost 4 times we saw it for them, where there was a bit of context. Is that a common thing that you've seen in the past going into Canada corner where it's been an issue?
Yeah, so the entry sort of pinches in just that little bit, just as you're on the brakes, the car will move, or at least the car on the outside will move slightly across, and the car that's on the inside also really wants to open up the entry to the corner, and so the two tend to converge, as we're seeing here now. And also, we're racing online, things can and will happen. Yeah, very interesting little contact there between Olsen and Rasmussen. It's always thrown up incidents over the years, even in real life as well. There's a lot of argy-bargy through there. You have a long time as well to set up an overtake, coming out of the kink, coming into Canada corner, so people probably get a little bit impatient. They have a long time to think, okay, right, I'm probably going to try and make this move happen, and so it often ends up in tears.
Yeah, and this last one for Olsen was very much tearful. You can see a huge netcode there. Did in the suspension, he's actually also got a post-race penalty as well for the incident that he had with Aberdeen. So pretty nasty day for them. They finished 17th and 18th in the A final. So got a lot of points to catch up for them. For the format, of course, this round we have our standard heat format, and in the championship as well, only 2 rounds completed so far, and it is, of course, Jesper Sandström leading the way. He took both race victories. He's on a perfect 130 points. Giuseppe Diodoni, new driver to the series, he's up there in second place. Zwemstra with a decent start. Platt and Arvidsson, he won his heat, that's why he's up there in 5th place, but of course he lost a lot of points in the A final. And in the Pro-Ams, a little bit of change to this one, because Jacob Fillamore started out the championship as an AM, but he did so well last week that he's been promoted to a Pro-Am. So he is up the top of that championship now, ahead of Edward Pop and Jonas Simonsen. And it means that the other amateur drivers would have probably been very pleased, because Fillamore was so far ahead of the rest before, but now it's all very close once again. And we've got Garrett Spence, who was Aaron Smith's pick for the championship, honestly my pick for the championship, but Aaron beat me to picking him, unfortunately. Paul Joseph Clist in 2nd place, and Dorian O'Roy in 3rd, but it's so early on in the championship that it's very much tricky to predict what's going to happen. But yeah, for tonight, Jamie, I mean, you were mentioning how, the positions aren't necessarily going to be set by the result, by the qualifying results or the starting results for each race. But is overtaking going to be that possible, do you think? Like, are we going to genuinely be able to see someone maybe with just a 10th of a second advantage be able to make a move, or is it going to be a case where you need to have more an advantage to make it stick?
It's quite interesting. So if you're strong defensively, even if you are lacking a little bit of speed, you can still hang on. So even if you're missing probably 3 or 4 tenths, it's possible just to hold position. But it's very easy to get pressured around here and be sort of forced offline, and if that happens, well, then anything can and probably will happen.
Exactly. Well, we're about to find out what is going to happen tonight. We are going to transfer over into the sim, and we'll be back with you in just a few minutes' time. Welcome to VIR. We're just a couple of minutes away from the end of qualifying before jumping into the first of our heats. And then there'll be the second of our heats, then a B final and an A final for tonight's action. And at the moment, it is a rookie, Ole Postrup, at the top of the standings. Now, I don't believe Ole took part last week, and so he is doing extremely well up there in top position, and yeah, has a real chance at perhaps taking a race victory on debut.
Yeah, it certainly does. It's a small margin though that he's got in qualifying here over the rest of the field. So again, plenty still left to happen at this point. Race results aren't won and lost in qualifying. There's a long way to go. But yeah, the gap there from the front four in particular, very, very tight, especially given the length of the lap and how complex it is. So I think we're in store for a really exciting evening of racing. Yeah, but just sort of looking now sort of at the standings. Yeah, and car sort of coming towards the end of qualifying here. We've got about 30 seconds or so left. Calix Poon on board now. Currently on an out lap, so maybe just practicing his race fuel and practicing starts and just making sure that the car feels good on the opening lap here. And Diadone, who got off to such a good start in the first round last week, down in 10th, over half a second off the pace. So a lot of work for Giuseppe to do to try and get towards the front, hopefully then for the A final. But we've got the grid now, just coming up in a moment for the first heat.
Yes, and yeah, we have Ole Postrup at the top of the standings with Lee Aberdeen in second position. Then it's Gianfranco Pagotto, another strong result for him, or position for him, I should say. Then it's Connor Gibb, Kevin Zwemstra, Christian Glamsetter, Edward Popp, Ricard Boberg, Dorian Arroyo, Paul Joseph Clist, and you can see my name there. I had to make a quick change just to make sure that everything went according to plan for the session, but it is all good now. So I will not be winning out here today like I did in the, of course, the BSR Radical Winter Series, which I famously did, and the Apex Racing League Super Trucks as well, lest we forget the other 10 jars will have a chance at this one at least.
Yeah, I mean, if you're on the grid for sure, an easy victory for you, of course. What year was that, BSR Radical Winter Series?
2018 into 2019.
Yeah. Absolutely, repping that one to...
And of course, one as an amateur driver. Beat
as an amateur, of course.
Beat Josh Thompson and Kane Halliburton.
Yeah.
All on pace. Nicole Foggy.
Of course, yeah, definitely on pace.
Definitely on pace, yeah. So we have got pretty much all the drivers on the grid, and
all but one.
All but one. But of course, the top 7 all advancing into the next race for this event. Yeah, of course, Ole leading the way. Of course, we have very much got used to the Swedes at the top of this championship. They really have become a very strong sim racing nation over the past few years, despite not having a whole lot of Formula 1 experience. I very much hesitate to say motorsport because, of course, in rallying, for example, they're much more got much more history. But Ole continuing that right now as he is on pole position, and we're about to get Heat 1 here at VIR underway, and away we launch. And it's a very strong start for Gianfranco Pagotto. Is he going to be able to do anything with it? I think he just had to lift out the throttle on C to let Pagotto through, as here he goes down the inside, and he has been able to make it, but running a little bit too wide. Stayed calm, did the Swedish driver, and at the back, Kevin Zwemstra and Connor Gibb coming to blows. Wasn't a good start for Zwemstra. Wasn't a good qualifying for Zwemstra, honestly, and he's got a lot of catching up to do now if he wants to get into the A final.
I somehow don't think he's going to make it look like a lot of damage on the car as well. So even if he does get up and going again, one, he's got a long way to go back up towards PJC in 7th. But also, yeah, it looks like he's got a fair bit of damage. So Potentially, looks of it, the B final for Swemstra.
Yes, and of course going into this round, 3rd place in the championship. And what's the score points for Olkentech if he possibly can? Simray Sweden, of course, very much scuppered for tonight. But the 2 Olkentech teams, there's so many drives in the series that they can enter 2 teams, very much at battle with one another. Out battle in the front is Postchup versus Pagotto, and Pagotto couldn't get it done into turn 1, but he's going to look to try to get it done into Roller Coaster. And that is what he has done. He is leading the way, and we've got a fantastic POV there of his setup as he negotiates the hills of Virginia.
Yeah, he certainly does, and that overtake looked a little easier than I was actually expecting. We didn't quite catch the exit out of Oak Tree from Postchup to determine whether he lost ground as such, but Pagotto got alongside and quite comfortably made the move. Postchup sort of let it happen for him, but yeah, it looks like we're going to get some good racing this evening.
Yeah, it does. That's a very positive sign that he was able to make that move pretty much on the first attempt. I think, yeah, that is very good news for everyone watching along. Here we are riding aboard with Ricard Boberg, former amateur champion is Ricard. As Klist in the background has just got past, well, he hasn't got past Arroyo. He was past for a moment, and that is for the final advancing place. Klist currently in 2nd place in the AM, in the championship. Arroyo in 3rd position, though, so this is very important. But they need to make sure they don't come to blows, because Gibbons and Wemster have both taken faster pairs. It seems they are back out on circuit. They're not going to catch in the 10 minutes unless these 2 come to blows, but only one of them is going to get into the A final. And with the likes of Swemstra in your B final, you're not going to fancy your chances necessarily, even though you're starting from pole position.
Yeah, you have to expect if Swemstra does make it through, that he'll right his wrong, I guess, from this race and contend for those first couple of positions in the B final. But we're looking now at Glamsetter and Edward Pop, and again, there's another move done into Roller Coaster, which I think is probably the key overtaking place on the lap. It's a little bit better of an opportunity than turn 1. So maybe we'll see some last lap moves as well coming into there, and then side-by-side action all the way to the line.
Well, I think Ricard Boberg might be doing the best attempt to disprove you right there, because he's trying to get down into turn 1 as we see replay of this race start. And look at the late move there from Pagotto, and really good work there from Postchup to be able to keep it tidy. And then this is what it was from Zwemstra, and he's nearly taking out his teammate. And well, he wasn't making that corner, was he?
No, it looked like another car is inside, which stopped him from turning in and stopped him from braking how he wanted to. It looked like he locked the front as well and then went straight on.
Yeah, and of course Pagotto eventually being able to make that all the way through. But yeah, dreadful start, as you're saying, for Zwemstra. And he'll be starting pretty much from the back when it comes to the B final. Pagotto not quite getting away. We've got a front group of 3 at the moment. Wait to really see the potential of Lee Aberdeen, of course, a new driver to the series, but part of Olkentech. So, and he did look competitive last time out Road America. Unfortunately, came to blows with, I believe it was Isaac Arvidsson early on in the A final, and that sort of ruined any opportunity for him. But he certainly seems to be a driver who's capable of scoring podiums, maybe a race win a little bit far away. But he's certainly got the pace to keep up with these drivers as it stands. Half a second off second place. Postchup getting some nice pace down the back straight, but nothing really doing. And yeah, 4 tenths behind coming onto the main straight. Not going to be close enough for turn 1.
Yeah, I would say so. 4 tenths is a fraction too far back. He could potentially send it here, but I suspect he'll sit in line and wait for a better opportunity. And I think that's probably the case for all of the top 3 at this point. Just early doors within the first heat here. You don't want to show your hand too early when there's so much racing still left to happen. And for those guys as well, as of course something does happen, another race to go through as well. So at this point, it's probably a little bit of a waiting game, and the focus then will be on the guys a little bit further down, trying to maintain and then improve their ground so they're a little bit more comfortable through into the A final.
Yes, yeah, that will certainly be the case. Pop seems to be struggling quite a bit, I must say, in 6th position. Very quick driver is Edward Pop. I think he narrowly missed out on the Amateur Championship last season. I think it was Michael Griffin who was able to take it as a slightly wide line there for Boberg as they went through South Bend. But yeah, Pop unfortunately missed quite a few rounds last season. Otherwise, he would have been right up there with Griffin. I think for the rounds that he actually took part in, I think he actually scored the most points of any amateur driver. Hence why he's now a pro-am, along with his iRacing being very competitive. And he had a very good round last time. I think he managed to finish in 5th place in the A final in the end. But of course, he's been overtaken by Glamsets recently. He's been overtaken by Boberg as well. And he's, if anything, struggling to keep tabs now with those 2 drivers as well. He's 9/10 of a second behind the Swedish driver ahead of him. And yeah, how confident does he look? Not using all the space there through the final couple of corners, Jamie, but do you necessarily want to be doing that anyway?
In his position, being 6th in this heat and very little to gain and quite a lot to lose, I think he's just playing it safe. When it comes to the a final later, which obviously if he continues to keep it on the black stuff, he will make it through. You know, that's when he's probably going to push the limits a little bit further. At this point, there's no need to take any big risks in his position.
Yeah, it might change your or your starting position so for the A final a little bit, but you're absolutely right there. In the grand scheme of things, around such a risky circuit as this, just making sure that you get your spot 3 is important. And of course there are a few points available as well, but only 2 points really for Pop if he was able to get up into 4th position, I believe. And still Pagotto just far enough away, just going on to these straights. He's constantly 4/10 of a second ahead, 5/10 of a second. If it was 3/10, then you'd feel quite concerned for the guy. But as is, he's got the gap that he needs. 40 seconds, yeah, we're not going to complete this lap in 30 seconds, are we? So next lap will be the white flag lap, I believe. We came very close at Road America. We just edged an extra one in by about a second, I think, at Road America. It's not too dissimilar this week, but yeah, we're going to be about 5 seconds short, I think, of making 2 more laps. So the flagman's going to be waving right now. Oh, is he?
It's close.
It's close, isn't it? It's really close. Can we see a man waving a white flag in the background?
No, I don't think so.
I think
we've got an extra lap.
Wow, 2 more laps to go. Well, hopefully they're fueled up for that.
It would be a massive shame if that's not the case, because yeah, the pace up front has looked pretty hard. They've not battled, they've not slowed each other up. So it's entirely possible that someone has miscalculated. We'll have to keep a very close eye on anyone potentially going slow in about 1 minute and seconds time.
Yes. Well, of course, we saw it last week. Anyone who looked at the Apex Racing TV or Apex Racing League social media pages would have seen there was an incredibly close moment between it was Paul Joseph Clist and one of the other drivers. And yeah, they ran out of fuel on the line pretty much, and the gap was less than 1,000th of a second across the line. Really required a photo finish, and even our time was confused by what the gap was. But yeah, afterwards it did come down to the 4th decimal figure most likely, and so yeah, it can be very, very tight if you have not quite nailed it. But these top 3, they're absolutely fine. It's seems like at the moment, because they are not backing off at all. And well, we wait to see if the white flag or the checker flag is being waved right now.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I'd say it's unlikely that it's been raised since we've not seen the white flag. Could be wrong. Oh,
there we go.
Never mind. Never mind.
We haven't quite made it, unlike Road America, and it is a first ever Apex Racing League victory for Gianfranco Pagotto, Wave Italy Racing Team, from 3rd on the grid. A lightning start, a lightning first lap, and after that, our pole sitter Postrup was unable to retaliate. Glamsets finishes top of the Pro-Ams, and Dorian Arroyo books his spot straight into the final. Paul Joseph Clist has an issue though. He is 1 lap down and will finish last of the starters. I have never finished last in a race. I've never finished anywhere but first, honestly, Jamie. So you know, that's definitely doesn't count, that one, we can definitely say.
It will go on the record book though that you did.
It doesn't go on the record book. I'm not in the series, Jamie. I'm a commentator. It doesn't count. Let us know on the chat if you think I finished last out of the commentators tonight in this 2-horse battle. There is the results. Picotto leading the way, and yeah, Rory the last man to get through in 7th place. But the Heat 2 is currently gridding up at the moment. And we have got Lennart Schnabel on pole position for that one. In fact, it's Organtech NHR12. And crucially, Schnabel up ahead of Sandstrom. And Sandstrom did seem to have a gap over his Organtech teammates last time out at Road America. So that's really positive for Lennart that he's been able to bounce back. Then we've got Calix Poon making his first race, I think, ever in ARL, certainly of the season. Dylan Platt looked very strong last time out. Watch out for him. Giuseppe Diodone, a bit of a disappointing qualifying for him. Diodone was absolutely on fire 1 week ago. Then it's Bognar Lee making his debut this season. Nina Hahn, Jay Walsh, and Jamie Tewksbury also making his debut tonight. So the lights are coming on, and 10 cars are about to tackle 10 minutes of VIR. And away we launch. It's not a good start for Schnabel. Immediately there's going to be a change, I think, for the Organtech drivers, but it wasn't a great second stage for Jesper Sandstrom, and he might just stay behind into turn 1. The top 2 miles clear, but it's very, very close behind. Dylan Platt already getting past Poon, but Poon is trying to come back, but he's spun round, and that might cause problems for other drivers. Manages to keep it roughly in the right direction, and well, if anything, actually it was Poon managing to keep going. It was Platt who was almost 90 degrees to the circuit for a moment there, but has only lost 1 position in all that to Diodone. And well, I think they all got through fairly well there, because I think at one point Hahn was even on the grass, but they avoided contact seemingly.
Yeah, I was expecting a lot of carnage there into turn 1. A few slow launches off the line there, and yes, as we mentioned, cars through the grass there, so I was expecting it all to end in tears, but thankfully everyone's kind of just scrambled through and lived to fight another day.
Dylan Platt dropping down for a moment. He's got Buckinghamshire broadband right now, and yeah, almost outside the advancing places for a moment. As the top 7 all fairly happy right there. In fact, the top 6, apologies, all fairly happy, because it's all going on behind Lee and Tewksbury and Hahn and Walsh. And it looks like Hahn for Olympus Esports is going to get past it. Meanwhile, Lee versus Tewksbury, very similar flags from very different parts of the world. And Lee is ahead. Tewksbury, who started last place, nearly already up 3 places, but having to wait behind for now. But there's little respite right now for the man in 7th place, as Dylan Platt has got back past Diodone. And a change for the lead.
Dropping down through the field. And yes, we do have a change for the lead. Sandstrom now back ahead of Schnabel. So I wonder if that was orchestrated. We didn't quite catch that. There's quite a gap, though, immediately coming off of the overtake there, up to 6.5 tenths of a second. So possibly a mistake there from Schnabel out of the final corner, leading onto the front straight.
Yeah, very possibly. Yeah, because his run seemed to be absolutely awful. It seemed lost a lot of time. And yeah, Diodone needs to work hard. Now he's only 1 second off the advancing places, but 3, well, at least 2 drives to overtake. I'm sure he can feel like he can get as high as 6th position by the end of this race. But yeah, so unusual for Diodone, who managed to finish 2nd in his heats 1 week ago and 3rd in his A final, 2nd place in the championship going into this round. As Andy Lee trying to make a little bit of a break for it. Wide there was Hahn, and that is not going to help a battle with Diodone already having to go on the defensive and on the back straight. The Italian will have a very good shot.
Yeah, looks like it. Yeah, Hahn going very defensive there into the oak tree, compromising the run off the corner. Still haven't really seen what actually happened to Diodone there. You know, running 5th, obviously not exactly where he wanted to be. Looking forward now to Poon, hanging on to the back of Platt. Actually, that's Platt probably getting through, and overtaking into 3rd. So we're seeing now a consistent pattern that into the roller coaster is probably the place to overtake. And if you don't quite,
wide.
Oh, that is very wide from Tewksbury, and off he goes. Huge shame from the transfer spot as well, and all the way down to 10th, last position.
Oh, he's back to where he started. So much hard work there for Tewksbury as these guys come close. And Poon's actually been able to come back, but he needs to make sure that he leaves enough space on corner exit. They race through turn 2. And Platt, after already making this move about half a lap ago, well, he's made it again. He's up into 3rd place after an underwhelming qualifying. I think it was a solid qualifying, honestly, for Platt. that is a very good race result for him right now. 3 seconds off the leaders. He's not going to catch the Alcantech pair, but already he's making clear from Poon, and Bognar in his debut might well be able to get past as well. Diodone gets down in, well, Diodone is back into the top 7 then, so after that mistake for Tewksbury, it means that the Italian is going through, and he's got maybe one more place to gain from lead. But I mean, if the Alcantech guys can go at an even faster pace than what we saw in Heat 1, you know, we're talking maybe 2 seconds faster, so I don't know, 3/10 a lap, maybe half a second a lap more like, we might get an extra lap in compared to what we saw in Heat 1.
We might. Oh, part of me really wants to see it just to see what happens. I just want to see if everyone's fueled up correctly for this. We've had some issues in the very top level in the past, but we've got some replays now of the start.
Yeah, so I think I'm not sure who it was off the circuit. It was that turquoise car, and then you see the slide. I honestly thought that was round there for Platt.
Yeah, especially on cold tires.
Yeah, I mean that was so. Is it particularly? Is this a grippy circuit? Is that why you managed to hold on to that? Because that seemed all going wrong for him.
And this is the mistake from Schnabel. Being able to hang on to that actually quite well, and then obviously losing the position, and then it's Tewksbury running wide and not able to.
That's actually Diodone.
Oh,
and then Tewksbury did the exact same thing.
Apologies. Yes. Yes, we are pretty much going to see the same thing, but with a different car. So yeah, Diodone running wide there. In his position, I feel like it's a little bit of a silly mistake because you don't want to be risking too much in the heat, if at all possible. And yeah, he's given himself a bit of work to do. Thankfully for him, he is back into the top 7, but that's going to have him starting well down the field in the A5.
Ooh, that's wide for Lee.
That's very wide.
And where is Han to take advantage of this? Han's not going to be far back, but still a little bit too far back for the Olympus esports driver. Lee wanting to hold on against Diodone, but it was a losing battle, honestly. And now he needs to drive without error to the end of this race if he is going to get straight through into the A5. So personally, now there's been fairly few changes. 1st and 2nd have swapped, 3rd and 4th have swapped, 5th and 6th have swapped. And then 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th are all in the same places. So not a whole lot of difference compared to how we started. As a little bit of a lock-up actually for Han just in the background. That's not going to help them along. 8/10 to a second behind, so still a little bit of a draft, but yeah, I think Lee's got the pace, honestly. It would take a mistake in order for them to swap around as well.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with that. Lee's pace has generally been quite strong relative to those behind. Fastest lap of his race is a good 7/10 of a second, 6/10 of a second quicker than Nina Han. So if Andy Lee can keep it on the black stuff, which, as we've now seen, if he's got any pressure behind, might not happen. He should still be okay, but time will tell.
Now, we're not biased or anything, but it would be quite nice, quite satisfying if Han was able to get past Lee and Tewksbury was able to get past Sporch, because then we would have just +1, -1, +1, -1, +1, -1, and so on, all the way down the field. It would look quite nice. Not as nice as when everyone finishes in the same order as they started. That's top stuff. But it wouldn't be too far off that. We're well away from that. We do need 2 more overtakes in order for that to occur. And Lee, after losing a little bit of time, has been able to re-establish that one. That is a spin in the background, though. Walsh at Oak Tree, or even before Oak Tree. It's a very common mistake, but if anything, it looks like he's lost that maybe on the apex there. I don't think he's run wide necessarily, but just lost it on entry.
Possibly braking on the grass. It's quite easy just to lose sight of like where to place the car on entry there, and there's no curb on the left-hand side just to lean into as you turn in. So it's very possible just to you know, drop a wheel on the grass as you brake and turn in.
So, I mean, surely it's got to be, I don't know. It's probably the last lap. It's probably the last lap, judging by the last race. And I don't think these guys are a whole lot faster than the drivers we saw in Heat 1 either. So this is probably the last lap now for Jesper Sandström, and he's not coming under a whole lot of pressure right now. Quick shout out, by the way, as Jay Walsh comes into the pits after his incident before, to Virtual Racing School for sponsoring this broadcast, being, of course, being one of our title sponsors for this series. Everyone knows about Virtual Racing School's setup tutorials and track guides, and of course, also their hardware as well, which is fairly new to the market. And of course, all the Apex Racing team drivers using their wheelbase and wheel rim and pedals as well. And do certainly check out VRS.racing or ApexRacingSim.com in order to purchase your hardware from Virtual Racing School. And of course, also do check out their setup shop as well. As this game awfully close now for the top two. Schnabel, though, not committing.
Yeah, not committing, but also just showing to his teammate that he can catch up to him, in a position to make a move. So, yeah, the semi-finals can be very, very spicy. Nina Han as well fell off the back of Andy Lee, so unfortunately no battle there for the final transfer spot.
The checker flag is out once again, and it is Jesper Sandström making it 3 from 3 now this season. Had to do it the hard way, and it was a mistake from Lennart Schnabel, which allowed him into the lead. But Sandström getting more big points right there. It will be Schnabel in second place, Platt rounding out the podium. Lee moves through in 7th place, and as you were saying, Jamie, Nina Han dropping off in the closing stages. We'll start on the front row of the grid for the B final, though, so still potential for them to get through, and it'll just be Jay Walsh, who's a little bit further back, who will still need to make their way through. But yeah, first and third for Auckland. Do you think if potentially they can, you know, get into the top 2 positions in the A final, do you think that will be sort of impenetrable for the A final, Jamie, or do you think even if they do have those top 2 places locked out, that, you know, another driver could potentially get in amongst them?
I still think, just based off what we've seen so far, that all the drivers can interfere with that. It's not super straightforward to just hold position and, you know, quite comfortably defend behind it. It looks like it could get quite interesting, especially if the lead card doesn't pull away as such and isn't quite clearly the quickest card for everyone else to sort of tag along to. So I think this will be a fascinating race.
Yeah, it certainly will be. Well, before that, we have got the B final coming up. It's a very limited grid, and once again, the other drivers will be, you know, thanking the Lord that I'm not out there, because it would be very dangerous. Connor Gibb on 4th position, Nina Han in 2nd place, then Kevin Swimster, Jamie Tewksbury, Paul Joseph Clist and Jay Walsh. 4 of these drivers will be going through into the A final, and 2 of them are going to be missing out, and the 2 that do miss out, I'm sure will be absolutely gutted, because it's a very good opportunity to make their way through. So Connor Gibb starting from that pole place. Surely Kevin Swimster will be looking to get to the lead very, very quickly and getting Auckland's second race win of the night. 3 lights are on now, all 5 of them are, and away we launch for 14 minutes of racing, and already it's a fantastic start there for Kevin Swimster to try to move to the outside. How much will Connor Gibb try to fight this one? Is he desperate to keep the lead? It looks fairly desperate right now, and it is just the 1-place game for Swimster so far. Meanwhile, Clist and Walsh alongside of one another. It looks like Clist has actually been able to make that move stick, but now Walsh fights back on the inside, and Walsh is up to 5th place. He needs 1 more place to get through.
Yeah, the main focus will be in that battle between 4th, 5th and 6th. Connor Gibb staying alive up front, which is good to see. We'll see if he can hang on for any extended period of time over Kevin Swimster, but I suspect that the pro driver for Alcantech will have an advantage here in general course of this 14-minute race.
Yes, and maybe just a little bit of passiveness, I think, from Swimster, realising that the situation is that Tewksbury just getting past Han, I believe.
Was indeed.
And Han making the familiar mistake at South Bend, which we've seen already several times tonight. And Tewksbury a little bit healthier now in that 3rd position. Han now feeling the pressure from behind of Walsh. Clist already dropping now 1.3 seconds back. We know that Paul has got the pace, honestly, to get through. He had very strong pace at Road America. Honestly, one of the strongest performances I've seen from Paul in the past. He did miss out on the A final by less than a thousandth of a second, like I was talking about earlier on. But not quite the same pace it seems around this VIR circuit, as Tewksbury runs a little bit wide. Swimster, though, taking the lead.
Yeah, no real surprises there. Gibb looked like he was just a little bit slow coming off of the final corner and just conceded the ground there to Swimstra, as we have Tewksbury trying to come up the inside now of Han. So they'd swap positions again. Oh, no.
And again, they swap positions, I guess.
They do indeed. Yeah, Tewksbury just getting on the loud pedal a little bit too quick there on the inside line, and a little half spin there. Still a long way to go in this. We do sort of expect the odd mistake here and there from the AM drivers, so you know, still has an opportunity potentially to work his way back towards the top 4.
Yes, he's not that far behind. I mean, Jay Walsh, we wait to see what his pace is. Certainly, I think Tewksbury can catch up to Clist. But yeah, Walsh with a really, really good shot at this one. He'll be feeling the pressure. I mean, when you're, I mean, it's, well, yeah, when you're in, say, I don't know, 6th position, Jamie, in you know, ESL R1, what were sort of the physical symptoms or even the mental symptoms that you were feeling in those kind of pressure points? Because, I mean, is it like, you know, cramping? Is it getting tight, would you say, for yourself? Or is it, you know, something else? Have you been able to kind of to block that out now in those pressure moments?
Things like that for me personally. Oh, huge slide from Han. Very well held. And hangs on then to 3rd position. But for me personally, I sort of embrace those scenarios where it's sort of all or nothing, and you kind of need to, you know, make something happen. The heart rate's through the roof, and your breathing's all over the place. But I wouldn't say like I cramp up or tense up necessarily. I maybe grip the wheel a little bit tighter, but thankfully, usually no physical symptoms.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I had that mentality. As we've got a few replays coming up. And here was the race to turn 1. So Swimster just very passive on the outside, wasn't he?
So we've seen cases in the past with Swimster in B finals and being maybe a little bit too aggressive, trying to work his way forward. He's definitely played it very, very smart here. He knows that, 1, he's already in the transfer spot, and 2, there's only so much he can really gain. So just taking a slightly more passive route seems to be the way to go. And there's Han running wide at South Bend. So easy to do around here. The curb entices you a little bit, especially with how it's profiled now, and then you've got the grass right on the edge of it. So you know, it's very easy to run wide. And then so it was a mistake then from Gibb, running a little bit wide out of the final corner. Again, quite a difficult corner to get right. It's not easy flat through the final 2 corners there at the hog pen. And yeah, if you get your line slightly wrong, the car will just understeer off the road, and there's very little you can do about it.
Yes, yeah, it's one of the most demanding corners when you visit this circuit. And yeah, so that was how Swimster was able to take the lead. I mean, Gibbs got really good pace. It's seen that he's only 0.8 of a second behind, as Han has made another mistake. So Walsh up into 3rd place, and now Tewksbury is up into 4th. So Tewksbury is looking like he's going to be able to get through despite a spin in his heat and despite a spin in the B final. Nina Han has allowed that one to get away, and it's now the 2 Olympus esports drivers who look like they're going to miss out on the A final. 5 seconds to catch, and so as long as the Max driver keeps it clean, should be all good. But that's a first mistake I think we've seen on the exit of roller coaster turn 15. That one for Han. I mean, if you're guessing, Jamie, what were we saying? Maybe wheel spin on that occasion, or more like grass cutting.
If I had to guess, and hopefully we'll get a replay of it at some point.
Oh no, Han's back ahead.
Han is back. It's all kicking off here. We cannot keep up. Tewksbury's unfortunately made another mistake and dropped it. Oh, gets it pointed back in the right direction, and off we go again. But on Han's spin, the inside curb can sort of pull the car around a little bit. So if you grab a little bit too much of it and then try and get the power down, at the same time the back end can let go a little bit there. So thankfully for now, still in 4th, but can't be having too many mistakes like that.
No. So I think that's now, well, Hahn with 1 spin, Klist with 1 spin as well.
It's like it.
Tewksbury with 2 spins. So hopefully they can keep it clean to the end of the race. And we do have a replay. So let's find out if I was right with my wheel spin or whether Jamie was right. Ahaha, here we go. Well, that wasn't really wheel spin, was it? It was more... Oh no, it was... Oh no, you were right, weren't you? I thought it was... Oh man.
I'm a big fan of you saying that I was right. And running wide there just sort of on exit. Yeah, it's quite easily done. Once you sort of run wide, get dirt onto the tires and sort of unload the car in a weird way, then yeah, it's very easy for it to step out.
I can't believe I've been tricked by the Olympus esports jars making the exact same error. Clist the exact way that I demonstrated, and unfortunately Hahn was far from it. Too much curb and spinning around at turn 15. Zwemstra getting some extra practice in right now. We'll be starting all the way down in 15th position though for the A final. Will be a very long, well, not a very long race, probably too short a race for the A final, because you'll have a lot of places to gain and probably not enough time to gain them. Headed into this meeting of the season in 3rd place, because it's the 2nd round of the championship. And yeah, really wanted to keep tabs with his teammates, but unfortunately that hasn't happened with, of course, teammates finishing in 1st and 2nd in their heats. And so I'm just having to go through this B farm, but he looks very comfortable. I feel like right now, Jimmy, like it must be, if I was in this scenario, of course I'd be straight through into the A final. But if I was in this scenario, hypothetically, as Tewksbury getting back past Klist on the comeback, and he has been able to make that move, in a way I think Zwemstra should be pushing hard to practice for the A final. You know, keep that rhythm up. But at the same time, you don't want to play the risk. You don't want to risk playing it in a wall.
Certainly. Yeah, he probably could do with you know, pushing, but also he's going to be in a lot of traffic in the A final. This isn't going to be particularly representative, most likely, of how the race is going to pan out for him. Good battle here brewing between Walsh and Hahn. And just to your point where you said that you would definitely be through to the A final, the standings right now say otherwise.
They don't count, Joe. I'm not in the championship. I like to think, and I'll let the YouTube chat decide. I like to think that I'm winning out of the commentators tonight, and if I can take that home, I'd be very happy. Let us know who is winning in the commentators race tonight, me or Jamie. Would much appreciate it. Please don't be harsh to Jamie. You know I do this, a lot, and I've got very good at it. And Jamie's a bit more inexperienced, but that's fine. So don't be too critical of Jamie. Use kind words when you're casting your votes for that one. So Walsh is now 4/10 of a second clear of Hahn, and this is very much in the overtaking window. We've seen the draft very powerful around this part of the circuit. I think Hahn's going to be past it, Jim.
Yeah. Oh, that is a big run as well from 4/10s back. So, yeah, I think we're going to get a lot of action in this A final. This pair, though, doesn't really need to do anything silly. Any contact, and that brings Tewksbury and Klist right back into it. And they're fighting over the back row. I know there's a couple of points probably on offer.
Not in.
Oh, not in this at all.
If you get through, then there's no points.
Okay, sorry, apologies. So, yeah, there's no real need to scrap particularly hard for last and second last on the grid for the A final, I think. But I also don't really think the same as most racing drivers most of the time anyway.
Well, I'm a bit concerned right now for Walsh. His pace on that last lap was a 43.3, Tewksbury 40.1, so 3 seconds a lap. And we got another, I mean, they're basically starting their 3rd to final lap. So he'll catch by the end of this race. I know that Walsh was overtaken on that last lap, so it's a little bit of a caveat there. But he needs to improve a bit. He has set 41s early on as Walsh. But I think with Tewksbury, with the pressure off, he can push 100%. I don't think Walsh is going to be willing to do that. I think this is going to come down to the last lap between these two. You can see the gap there, the +8 seconds for Walsh as he made a mistake. Oh yeah, apologies, that was Tewksbury making the mistake a couple of laps ago, losing a whole lot of time. And yeah, we'll see if he manages to do it. 6 seconds now, the gap.
And the gap is coming down as well. That's chipping away sort of corner by corner. Tewksbury, I feel, just needs to keep it on the straight and narrow. Walsh's pace is okay. Well, as I say that, it's locked up and ran a little deep. Oh, no. Never mind. Never mind. Walsh has gone round. So all Walsh really did need to do was keep it pointed and straight and narrow, and wait for Tewksbury to make a mistake. But unfortunately, Jay Walsh has made the mistake himself.
Well, of course, now they've both made 2 mistakes, or 2 spins, and Tewksbury's ahead. He's just had the better pace, really. Yeah, so Tewksbury looking like he's going to get through, but just keep it clean. I mean, we saw. I mean, imagine if Jamie had made that mistake just when Jay made the mistake as well. It would have been so painful for him. But he managed to keep it on the circuit despite the lockup. And it looks like Jamie Tewksbury is going to go through into the A final. This is his second Apex Racing League series, I believe. I think it was the F3s last season that he took part in. It could have been the F4s, but I believe it was the F3s. We'll be very grateful to get through into the A final. We'll be one of just 2 amateur drivers in that A final, along with Dorian O'Roy. And I think he will have a good chance at catching up to O'Roy if he can keep it on circuit on that extended race. We've got no confusion with the flags this time. We've got 1 more lap to go, nice and simple, and it is still Gibb 1.3 seconds behind Zwemstra. I think Gibb's going to be, potentially up in the top 10. Honestly, this has been a really impressive performance from Connor.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with the speed and in this race the consistency as well. Obviously, it was this pair, if I got that right, that collided at the start of the
You're right, I think, yeah.
First race this evening. And he's showing what he's got. Last lap, 2/10 quicker than Zwemstra as well. So definitely, well, both of these cars definitely need to keep an eye out for as they try and move their way forward. They've got good speed, not quite as quick as maybe like the fastest Alcantech drivers, or probably not like the pace for maybe top 5, but can certainly work their way forward. And if things happen up ahead, they can definitely try and take advantage of it.
Seems like Jay Walsh has had another issue now. Paul Joseph Clist moving past, so Clist up to 5th position now, and Walsh very, very far away from that advancing spot, which seems...
He's towed back to pits.
Yes. Shame for Jay. It will happen next time. I'm sure you will get into the A final at some point during this season. As Kevin Zwemstra, the time ticking over to 14 minutes. We're just a couple of corners away from what I believe will be his first race win of the season. Probably not in the circumstances that he would quite have envisioned, but he'll take it, and he knows that it's a necessary race win for him to give him the best chance for the A final, which will be starting up in a few minutes' time. So here comes Kevin Zwemstra for Alcantech NHR by MW Race Consulting to take the B final race win. He gets through, Gibb gets through. We will have to wait a little while for Hahn after dropping as low as 5th position earlier on. Hahn managing to keep it clean for the final 10 minutes of that race. And Olympus Esports will have 1 driver through into the A final. Ina Hahn, the German driver, to get through on the podium, and Jamie Tewksbury, after a very tricky start to this B final, will be able to secure his spot as well into the final race of the evening. So we will take just a moment away whilst we show you an advert from one of our partners, but we'll be back with you very soon on Apex Racing TV. of course, thanks to Apex Racing Simulators for helping us out on this broadcast. Of course, we are just sat upstairs in the Apex Racing UK headquarters, and the customer area downstairs with plenty of rigs for you to give a go on. Do check out apexracingsim.com in order to book a rig for yourself for half an hour or potentially even an entire day. And of course, it's a fantastic opportunity to try out Virtual Racing School's hardware. And of course, if you want to purchase any Virtual Racing School hardware as well and are based in the UK, certainly do visit apexracingsim.com to do so. Kevin Swimster there taking the race victory in the B final ahead of Gibb. Hahn, a comfortable third position. Tewksbury, a very comfortable fourth position in the end, but that doesn't tell the whole story. And Klistenko, unfortunately, missing out on getting there, including myself. Oh no, I'm allowed in the warm-up, it seems, but I'm not allowed in the A final, unfortunately. But enough about me. One more race to go, Jamie, and how important do you think the race start is? It seems like overtaking is very possible. Honestly, as long as you're within sort of 4 tenths going onto the back straight, you're almost a sitting duck if you're in the lead, honestly.
Yeah, it looks that way. Now that might be influenced by downforce levels. You can sort of mix and match around here for sure. You can either prioritize the back straight and you know, the flat out sections, or you can be a little bit quicker through the slow stuff. So that might have played some role into it, and that actually might play a role in the race itself that we have here coming up very, very soon. See how the heavy hitters sort of fight amongst each other, and whether a gap like that, you know, 4 tenths of a second coming out of O3 is enough to hang on, or whether this is going to be a bit of a brawl coming into the roller coaster lap after lap.
Yeah, we certainly hope that it's nice and tight. Hopefully no one can sort of establish a lead. What we don't want is, you know, a brawl to be going on, but for it to be the 2nd, 3rd and 4th and 5th, and allow maybe Sandstrom will be starting from pole position for this race to be able to pull away. In fact, apologies, Sandstrom I think will be starting in 2nd place for this race, so we'll very much struggle to pull very far away from the rest of the order. But the drivers, plenty of drivers, in fact, just trying to get a little bit of extra practice in, and maybe practicing 1 or 2 moves into turn 1 as well. And yeah, I mean, Ole Pustrup, not a whole lot of experience when it comes to you know, racing like this, but you know, I think plenty of experience in the A final. Sort of an unknown entity, I think, for us, but also the drivers as well. I mean, some of these guys have been doing 3 or 4 seasons of the F3s. Whenever you get a new driver who you don't know how to battle against, it's it can be a little bit confusing out of circuit.
Yeah, and it takes a little bit of time to understand how an opponent races, how their car behaves, how they try and approach moves, how they defend as well. Like, it takes a bit of time to build up the knowledge required to race them effectively. So with Ollie coming in as the unknown entity here, it should be fascinating to see how he gets on and how he behaves around all the other cars.
Yeah, well, he'll be starting fairly high up, but starting higher up than anyone else will be Gianfranco Pagotto for Wave Italy Racing Team, ahead of Jesper Sandstrom. Ole Pustrup, though he is, up in 3rd position alongside Lennart Schnabel. Lee Aberdeen in 5th place, and it's Dylan Platt. Christian Glamset at top of the Pro-Am drivers. Then it's Calix Poon in 8th place. Rikard Boberg in 9th, and Leonard Bogner making it an all-Swedish row 5. Then it's Edward Pop and Giuseppe Diodone. Watch out for Diodone, I think he's going to gain a few places back from there. Dorian Arroyo's top of the amateur drivers alongside his amateur rival Andy Lee. Then it is Kevin Swemster, Connor Gibb, Nina Hahn and Jamie Tewksbury rounding out the 18 cars. And just 3 more now to grid up. We've just got Platts and in fact just Arroyo as well to get onto the grid for this 18 car field to decide who's going to take the 2nd A final of the season. Gianfranco Pagotto from the pole position for the first time in ARL as we get away. It's a very good start for Postrup. Sandstrom having to cover off immediately, but he was able to get to the inside soon enough. But he might be a bit boxed in as Postrup takes a wide line into turn 1. In fact, just decides to cut in. And those sort of are in the same order. There is some contact further back. Pop and Gib, Diodone being set back, and I think Zwemstra may have been involved in that as well, despite starting very far back. Zwemstra, it's his second turn 1 incident of the evening, but Pagotto leading the way ahead of Sandstrom.
Yeah, Sandstrom very aggressive in cutting off Postrup right off the line. The outside line is not really where you want to be through turn 1 here. The camber sort of falls away the wider you go here, so you really want to be on the inside line if possible, and that's why he was so aggressive in bringing the car to the inside.
And he's almost being able to break a draft right now is Pagotto. I'm sure Sandstrom will be able to up the pace soon, but maybe more comfortable on the cold tyres as the Italian is running a little bit wide there. Was Postrup maybe picking up too much time loss or any damage, but has set him back slightly, maybe a little bit of turbulence from the back of his fellow countrymen ahead. Great stuff for Nina Hahn, up 5 places. Tewkesbury is up 7 places. So mighty stuff there from Tewkesbury. As Lennart Schnabel, he's actually staying the same place. He's only just ahead of Lee Aberdeen. They're trying to sort out who's going to be ahead, and that's pushing them back into Christian Glamsetter. Glamsetter, though, very experienced driver. Don't think he's going to try anything rash, and he didn't end up trying anything rash into the road race day, even though it looked like he might for a moment.
Yeah, it looked like Glamsetter. I think he knows that his battle is probably more behind than it is ahead, so he's not going to do anything too silly, especially as the Pro-Am leader in the race currently, and it's early doors at this point. But Pagotto, excellent start, and really broken the back almost of Sandstrom and Postrup. The pair of them need to sort of work together, actually, to not let Pagotto like totally break clear and run off towards potential easy victory.
Pagotto is our highest iRacing driver in this series. He's over 7k, but yeah, we didn't necessarily show that. They gave 7.4. We didn't show you that necessarily at Road America. He seems, you know, competitive, but only 5th or 6th fastest. But taking it up to a whole new level for tonight. And just for Sandstrom, who frankly was dominant at Road America, really won his heat comfortably and won the A final comfortably as well in the end, albeit helped that he did have teammates behind him in both of those races. Really is going to have to come out his best, but yeah, still that gap not really coming down. Over a second now out in the lead for the Italian driver. Glamsetter, after putting a lot of pressure on Aberdeen, he's having to look in his mirrors a little bit more as well. Dylan Platt, who I feel like tends to start a little bit lower down than what he should be, is looking to get back past, and he did lose that place earlier on, did Platt. Here comes a move for second place. Postrup wasn't able to get it done on the line. He came ever so close to doing so, but he's ahead now, and maybe Sandstrom letting that go fairly easy, maybe thinking, you know what, this guy might be a little bit faster, let him drag us up to the race leader.
Yeah, Sandstrom was definitely getting dropped by Pagotto. Possibly the Altentech cars, with how strong they were last week at Road America and how much they seem to be struggling in comparison this week. Maybe their car and how they approach things with the setup is a little bit better suited to Road America, which is much more of a low downforce track than VIR is. So it looks like Pagotto for We of Italy has got the car dialed in, and yeah, 1 second lead is nothing to sniff at this level.
Ognar ahead of Arroyo. It looks like Arroyo is having a really good race. In fact, he's actually come back now for Force International Racing Team. Do you like that livery from Ognar? It's got like different patterns on it for different parts of the car. You need to have, well, I mean, turn your resolution up as high as you possibly can in order to kind of see this paint. Because these cars are very quick, so it does go by very quickly. But yeah, you can sort of see different patterns and different color combinations on different sides of the cars. It's pretty cool.
It is a very cool little paint scheme that he's got going on there. Looking now at Ricard Boberg, 8th place, 2nd in the Pro-Am sort of standing within this race. Got Calix Poon directly behind, and yeah, that's another one where the position sort of, he's quite cleverly got that off the line, and probably not something actually to mention that's an odd numbered car overtaking an even numbered car on the inside of the start, so maybe that's sort of landing. Oh, never mind. I was well, yeah, that's an incident that has definitely happened. We'll definitely get another look at that. I didn't fully catch that. I was checking standings there, where cars on the inside seem to have got the jump off the line, but yeah, they've come to blows there. Boberg is able to press on, and actually now has a bit of a gap both front and rear, but now Platt pressuring and making the overtake stick on Glamsetter and up into 6th place.
And Glamsetter's very much falling to what you were mentioning earlier on, that at turn 1, outside turn 1. Very slippery, and wasn't able to get enough pace on it in order to respond. So this is what happened earlier on. Oh, it was right on the inside, wasn't it? I think that was an Alcantech car. Maybe going... No, sorry, it was Diodone, wasn't it?
Yeah,
he went into the back.
Quite hot there.
And I think that was into the back of Pop. And then I think Zwemstra was just unlucky in that. And one other driver as well, wasn't it? It had been...
Andy Lee, maybe?
Andy Lee, yeah, I think you're right.
What that looked like to me, though, was I believe the car ahead of Diodone would have been either Boberg or Glamsetter. I know they're both no-limits cars, couldn't quite pinpoint it, but that car really aggressive up in the inside, sort of a massive dive, and then got it pulled up, and Diodone, I don't think, was able to judge the distance accurately, and paid the price for it.
Yeah, frustrating for all involved. But stuff like that happens at VIR. It's such a rush to the inside. It's such a narrow circuit that you do get a big hold up there. Well, Jesper Sandström, this is very far from the pace he showed at Road America, because he's been overtaken already by Postjup. He might be overtaken now by his own teammate, but Schnabel didn't want to overtake right there. He wants to wait behind still. You feel like they've got to race. I mean, I know that often people's first assumption is, well, it's all about the team games, but in the end, these two, Sandström and Schnabel, are two of the favourites for the title. And if you're battling for the title, you've got to race against one another, really, because you need to decide who deserves the title more. And so I do think, oh, that's a spin for Platt. That's a big shame for Platt. Was able to get past Glamsetter earlier on, but he's giving it up very weakly there, and that's a tricky place to go if he's lost a lot of time.
Yeah, that's a shame. It's a little bit of a weird one. The car tends not to get that loose through there normally. From my experience, at least, that's a corner where you tend to actually understeer. So maybe he's understeered and then picked up the throttle, and the back end's just sort of let go there. But big shame there for Platt. Had got himself probably into where he and his pace would indicate, up into 6th place, and yeah, small mistake there, and that's cost him dear. Jimmy Tewksbury, though, up 10 places, started dead last. Got ahead of the other AM drivers as well, and he's doing a fantastic job so far. I'm going to touch wood here. I
mean, I was about to say, that's such a big curse. And
I'm just saying that he so far, to this point, he's done a fantastic job, and he's pushing forward, actually, now on Ricard Boberg.
Jamie comes across as a very curseable man, I think. I think he's the type of guy who...
He's made the move. He's made the move. I am blessing my fellow Jamie.
He's got 10 minutes to go. Got 10 minutes to go. We'll see. And so, well, up to 7th place. Now, I mean, this would be a phenomenal result for Tewksbury. Didn't take part last week. He wasn't even signed up for the championship last week. He only signed up after round 1. And so it would be an incredible result for him to go up into 7th place and score a massive amount of points, which is what he needs. Meanwhile, Platts with the inside on Gibb. And Gibb up in that top 10. I thought he might be able to get as high as that, but he wasn't fast enough to hold back Dylan Platt. And Platt on the comeback, he's 15 seconds off the lead. He could catch up to Tewksbury and Boberg by the end of the race. I know he was ahead of Glamsetter, but if he could get 7th place despite the spin that he had, that would be a very satisfying result, I'm sure, for the Englishman.
I believe that actually that was Gibb trying to actually make the move around the outside on Platt. Which I feel like that's an indicator of how difficult it is actually to make the move into turn 1 if the car ahead defends on the inside there. Gibb did give it a fair go, but Platt was resolute there in his defence. So looking now, Sandstrom has definitely dropped off the back of Postjup now as well. I feel Schnabel has to go for this at some point. He's definitely being held up, or at the very least is comfortably matching Sandstrom. Sandstrom has no answer for either Postjup or Pagotto, and yeah, he's definitely dropping off. So if Schnabel has any major ambitions of a driver's title this season, he needs to look at making a move here at some point.
Yes. He's glitched out. This could be an interesting tactic for him. Nope. Of course, you know, Jamie, I'm sure you found yourself in the position when you're racing against your teammates, and you're, you know, lapping much faster than them, and you're thinking, come on, guys, get out of the way. As we're going to see this outside move again here for Gib. Let's see if the camera's any kinder to him this time, and again, just not quite enough. You can go for a bit of a dive into turn 3. He thinks about it, but it was never really on. But how do you, like, negotiate that when it comes to, you know, trying to overtake? I mean, is it a case of, you know, can I, do you just ask? Is it like a bit of an unwritten thing where, you know, the guy behind me is faster, I'm going to let him go? I mean, how does that work?
It's usually an unwritten thing. If a teammate is faster, and quite clearly so. Like this shoe's definitely been on the other foot in the past, where I've had quicker teammates. Oh, that is contact. Almost certainly. What a save!
Wow!
Wow!
Save of the season.
That's and he's going to get the spot back. So that, for me, I believe there was some contact. Or maybe it was a netcode deal, but. Gib there definitely looked like he gave the spot back, but what a save from Dylan Platt. And it was aesthetically beautiful to watch as well. I enjoyed that. That was great driving.
It's already on Apex social media. I mean, it's real nice stuff when we get easy social media content. Really fantastic. You'd love to see it. Gib is back past and is up into 9th position. And, well, look at how Bogner, and now Zwemstra as well. What good job Zwemstra's done after that setback earlier on, to be right back with these drivers. And yeah, good chance that's overtaking one or maybe all 3 of them. We've got 6 minutes to go in this race. That's going to be about 4 laps. They're not close enough at the moment for a move, but as close as the exit of turn 1, honestly. I think he's going to have a chance, as there's a look up ahead. Has been struggling with that corner, has Platt. And now Zwemstra has got the inside line. Is he alongside? He is. And he is up into 11th place. That's 1 down, 2 to go.
Yep, smart driving from Zwemstra there. As things check up, he was sort of patient and sort of waited for the opportunity to pop up, knowing that it would. And dutifully took the spot there. Back now with Sandstrom and Schnabel. Something to bear in mind as well, Schnabel has the fastest lap of the race by a reasonable margin. Over 0.3 of a second. He needs to get a move on.
I think he's going to overtake it. I honestly think he is. His connection's...
No, he's not.
Come on, Lennart. What are you waiting for? Go for it. Come on.
There's... oh, no.
Oh, the curse. Like, why are you surprised? Honestly, Jamie's face. And, you know, this is why I win tonight's best commentator. Because
I still believe. I mean, he's still in 11th. He's still doing really well.
Well, now you've just cursed him again. He's going to be down. He's going to be somehow 19th when all this ends.
Oh, no.
Between the 2 of them.
Oh, it's okay.
Boberg managed to get that one stopped. That was a miraculous one. And there's another curse, and he's down to 12th place now. And Jamie really should, you know, hang up his voice for the evening.
No, because, he's still about 5 seconds ahead of second and driver.
Not for long, Jamie, with that attitude. Not for long.
I believe in my fellow Jamie.
Gib is at the front of that pack. It looked like Zwemstra was looking pretty racy. Poon is now past Arroyo, so the pro driver desperately trying to get back up there. Honestly, with the pack of cars ahead, he won't be far behind. That pack, Gib down to Boberg, they're all going to be losing each other a lot of time, I imagine, with this batsman.
But they've got a battle. We're getting down to the final 3 1/4 or 3.5 minutes.
Oh my God,
Jamie. No.
Jamie, just be quiet.
Oh no.
Right? What are you going to say
now? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, you should be. He's down to 15th.
He's still up from where he started.
Oh.
And that one you can't dispute.
he is, but not for long, because he starts this race. Well, he can't finish lower than where he started.
Exactly.
But
you can't get me on that one. Meanwhile, Zwemstra attacking Dylan Platt now for 8th position. Side by side. Isn't able to actually pull clear. So Yeah, this is going to be really interesting into the roller coaster, and Platt looks like he's hanging on. Yeah, just about hangs on around the outside there. Good defensive driving, and Swam's just going to have to wait for another opportunity.
If Zoemstra can make this one into turn 1, he can definitely catch up to Gibb by the end of this race. Gibb, despite these two fighting a bit, only a second ahead. And here comes Zoemstra. Let's see if he's got better straight line speed this time. But again, it sorts of neutralizes out. Is he going to start losing time further down the straight? Almost does. And now he's on that very tricky line, and he realizes that he's not going to be able to make a move around there. Decides to cut back, but really good discipline there from Platt to get the car stopped the way he did into turn 1, not feeling the need to go at all defensive into turn 3. And he's doing all he needs right now as Platt. And remember, Platt was able to hold back Gibb for about 3 or 4 laps, wasn't he, before Gibb eventually managed to get past. So he does know how to defend around the circuit. Yeah,
he's placed the car pretty much exactly where he needed to in that sequence, and yeah, he's hanging on a bit, but yeah, 8th position for now is his.
So Picotto 1 second ahead of Postjop, well, less than 1 second. It has come down a little bit, 2 tenths faster for Postjop on that last tour of the circuit. I think he might be a little bit, well, lost half a tenth in sector 1, half a tenth through sector 2, 200ths faster through sector 3. 300ths faster through sector 4, and within 100th in sector 5. And sector 6 is just this final couple of corners. It looks like he's lost a little bit of time there as Posture. And this was Poon. And that was contact earlier on. And that could have been with Glamsetter potentially. Here it was. And Glamsetter not being able to do a whole lot to avoid that one.
Yeah.
So this was Platt and Bogner, I believe.
And then this was the spin for Platt, just sort of a little half spin there, coming through left hook.
And this was the fight once again between the two of them. And yeah, wasn't able to make it stuck that time, but then the incredible save. Just used all the circuit that he could. I mean, because if he dipped a wheel onto the grass there, I mean, that would have 100% been round, but he just used that little bit of extra curb, and it was enough to hold on.
See if there was contact here.
I think you're right.
Yeah, a tiny little bit.
I didn't think that was the case initially.
So he's actually pushing it onto the grass, and then, oh, that's a tremendous save. I could watch that all day, every day.
That's not a save.
Yeah, this is where I've unfortunately let my fellow Jimmy.
Oh,
and
wow.
Yeah, spun in sympathy there.
Yep. I mean, that's lucky that they haven't collided with one another. And I mean, you can almost see the witches fly straight past him right there.
Yeah.
Incredible stuff.
I believe we're on the last lap of the race here. So back to live action. We've got Swemstra coming through to potentially overtake Platt, but Pagotto's just hanging on for the victory.
And it's going to be a first Apex Racing League victory for Gianfranco Pagotto. It's a double for him at VIR. He beats Postrup by just quarter of a second in the end. Sandstrom ahead of Schnabel. There may have been some late batting with, because I think Kevin Zwemster just had a spin.
No.
And Ken Zwemster rejoined the circuit. Oh, he's been very, very good there. And Zwemster, he could have easily rejoined unsafely and potentially taken out Poon. But he hesitated. Now he just needs to get enough speed up, and he should remain in 12th place. But a very disappointing day for Kevin Zwemster. He'll be hoping that that is his drop score. He is going to finish in 12th position tonight, ahead of Dorian Arroyo and Edward Pop, who was just short of catching the Mexican in the closing stages. We will have all 18 drivers finish on the lead lap. Good resilience from everyone to get back out on circuit, despite a couple of them needing faster pairs. But we will transfer back over to the studio in just a few moments' time, and yeah, we'll see you back to go through the results and have a chat with a few of our drivers.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Well, 4 races of intense action, and in the end we have a new race winner at the end of all of it, and honestly just a very mature drive I thought there from Gianfranco right there, Jamie. I mean, just not a foot wrong for the entire day. I mean, throughout his heats, not a single mistake. Throughout the A final, not a single mistake, despite always having cars within about a second of him. Just absolutely unflappable, the guy.
Yeah, super solid, no clear mistakes, nailed the starts. Only small blip was qualifying where he didn't stick it on pole. I think it was fifth in qualifying.
Yeah, you're correct.
But he got straight to the lead and took off from there and never really looked back. In the end, it was a little bit tight at the end with Polstrup, but he looked like he had it under control pretty much the whole way and picks up maximum points.
Yeah, so he managed to take the race victory, quarter of a second in the end ahead of Ole Polstrup. I mean, what a debut for him, really strong pace, and you have to think if it weren't for that mistake, I believe it was a mistake at the start of his heats, you know, could have well won and did really well to finish in second place, got past Sandstrom, who did not have quite the same amount of pace as he had before. Good news for Lennart Schnabel. I see that, you know, Schnabel seemed to have the pace on Sandstrom, wasn't able to put it onto circuit, but very much positive if those two end up being the protagonists for the championship. Lee Aberdeen, good result for him, 5th place. Of course, he was unlucky last time out at Road America, so to finish 5th tonight is a really good effort from the Australian. Christian Glamsetter was top of the Pro-Ams, followed by Connor Gibb. Dylan Platt in 8th place, then as Leonard Bogner and Ricard Boberg rounding out the top 10. Behind that was Poon Wemstra with a late issue. I think he dropped 2 places due to that spin. Arroyo, Pop, Tewksbury, Diadone, Hahn and Lee rounding out our 18 drivers. And I think we'll try to have a chat with 1 or 2 of our drivers if possible. And I think we have Lennart Schnabel maybe with us at the moment to have a chat with us. And Lennart, how, well, first up, can you hear us all right?
I can hear you, yeah.
Excellent stuff. Well, how was that race out there? How was this VIR circuit? Because it looked like it was very easy to make mistakes out there.
It was definitely easy to make mistakes. That's just part of the track because it's so narrow at some parts and so wide at other parts. You just don't have really a reference how wide the track actually is. But you get in a really nice flow after a couple laps, and I think we managed quite good. Jesper in P3, me in P4, Lee in P5, so good team points for us here. Yeah, not too many mistakes except for Kevin, but that's just part of racing, I assume, and I think we can be quite happy with the results here.
Absolutely. Take us through sort of that strategy in the A final, because it honestly looked like, you know, in qualifying you beat Jesper, it looked like through the heat you were matching him, and then in the A final it looked like you were faster and you had many opportunities to pull alongside and go for the move. What was the logic there for staying behind in 4th place?
Well, first of all, Jesper's in the lead of the championship, so we don't want to interfere with him. because he's still part of the team. He's just racing for another part of the team, and I thought it would be better just to wait. We had the hope that Ole would catch up to Pagoto, but it didn't work out at the end. But I felt like it was the best to stay behind him, not to interfere with anything there. And yeah, that's just part of playing a team game. Sometimes you just need to back out of it. That's just part of it. Team comes first, and then the drivers.
Absolutely. And of course, you mentioned the fact that you're not technically part of the same team for this season. Is there a little bit of a rivalry within Alcon Tech when it comes to who's going to win the team's championship for this season? Because it must be quite fun for you guys to, be able to, have that extra rival when it comes to their teams.
Yeah, well, it's definitely easier to get a team championship. But main focus on the team championship is definitely the MW Race Consulting team, just because we are 3 people in it. You might have read that in the Discord. Nick's not able to do all rounds, and so our main focus to get team championship is on the MW Race Consulting team, and I think Jesper is doing a pretty good job with the other team in the driver's standings.
Yeah, he's doing a very good job, as are all of you. Really, some really strong points for you tonight, Lennart. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, shout out to all of my teammates, to our sponsors, then to my parents as usual, and to you guys, as already said multiple times. Great stream. I'm looking forward to rewatch it a bit in the next couple of days, and I guess have a good evening.
Awesome. And I think I saw you put a YouTube comment as well at one point, mentioning first and second commentator. I mean, I assume you meant myself at first place, so if you just want to confirm that on stream.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. So, I mean, honestly, it was going to happen anyway, so, don't be offended or anything there, Jane. But there you go. Thanks for that, Lennart. Really fantastic to chat with you as always. Yeah, best of luck for next round.
Thank you very much.
Lennart Schnabel there. Really, really great guy. Really great guy.
You're unbelievable, Sam.
We unfortunately don't have any more interviews. Unfortunately, that's the vote's over. That's it. And yeah, we'll maybe not continue that for next week. Mosport for the next round of the championship. Jamie, when I think of that, so I think of tricky to overtake-ness, because I remember when we held a GT4 race there. I think it may have been during lockdowns, like 3 years ago, and we had, I think, the BMW GT4 back when that was like insane down the straights, and it was just impossible for a Porsche to overtake a BMW, even if you're like a second lap faster, because whilst you've got that long back straight, the Andretti straight, at the end of it, you haven't got a braking zone really, particularly in these F3 cars. And so it can often turn into a bit of a procession, honestly. Does that match your experience when you faced that circuit?
So I've once upon a time raced the F3 at Mosport, so I have a tiny bit of experience to lean into here. I've won a race from dead last on the grid, so I have that on my locker, or in my locker, sorry. It is possible to overtake for sure. Downforce levels are a huge factor in it, because you can basically set up the car to work just on that back straight and it's worth a lot of lap time, but then you're not quick through all the high speed corners. Conversely then, you can bolt on all the downforce, be really comfortable through all the high speed corners, but then be a potential sitting duck if you make any sort of mistake. Overtaking, in theory, yeah, as you said, it doesn't look easy because there's no heavy braking zone, but you can go left and right at the end of the back straight there. You can go inside or outside. So overtaking moves are still possible, and we've seen this evening with the overtakes on the back straight on the run to the roller coaster and the runs that drivers have been able to get. I still would expect, if you can sit within half a second of the car head, to generate a run, generate some side-by-side action, and yeah, anytime that these cars go side by side, it's always thrilling stuff. So it won't be easy, but definitely possible still to overtake.
Yeah, hopefully so. Certainly tonight seemed really promising when it came to that, as you were saying, just like the run that drivers were able to generate from a few tenths to a second back. So yeah, fingers crossed we see just as exciting action as we saw this evening. But that's pretty much it for us tonight. Of course, big thanks to our sponsors, Virtual Racing School, Apex Racing Academy, Apex Racing Simulators and SDK Gaming. Of course, do check out our social media, Apex Racing League and Apex Racing TV as well, to see any extra highlights. I'm sure we'll have a few angles of that fantastic save we saw earlier on in the race. And of course, if you've enjoyed this video, please do leave a like on it and also subscribe to Apex Racing TV to check out all our future streams. But for now, from myself, Sam Fitzpatrick, and from Jamie Fluke, we will say goodbye and we'll see you back in a fortnight's time at Mosport. See you then.